Introduction to Child Trafficking: Outreach, Impact, and Takeaways. National statistics. Since its inception, the Human Trafficking Hotline has identified 100,891 cases of human trafficking. 197,000 victims were identified in these cases. In 2024, NCMEC received more than 27,800 reports of child sex trafficking from all 50 United States. Local impact. Suffolk County has one of the worst human trafficking problems in the country, and we are currently in the top 20th percentile for human trafficking in the nation. As of February 26, 2025, at least 21 children were listed as missing. Suffolk County leaders hope to improve collaboration with different arms of the government to help mitigate this pervasive problem. Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine was joined by federal, state, and local officials, as well as community providers, on February 26, 2025, to announce Operation Safe and Lasting Return. Recent executive orders. The United States Department of Health and Human Services leads the nation's health response to human trafficking by developing programs directed at stopping human trafficking. HHS develops policies and programs that affect millions of lives, including underserved populations who are disproportionately affected by human trafficking. EO 13903 in 2020 established the Forced Labor Enforcement Task Force. EO 13903 in 2020 combats human trafficking and online child exploitation. EO 13773 in 2017 enforces federal law to prevent international trafficking. HR 443 requires the Department of Labor to provide training and education to its employees on how to effectively detect and assist law enforcement in detecting human trafficking. HR 5856 is a bill that provides resources for prevention, education, job training, scholarships, and more. And finally, HR 3244 of 2020 is the Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act. HHS Administration for Children and Families. Within the HHS, the government has created the HHS Administration for Children and Families to establish a national system that serves survivors of all forms of trafficking.
Child trafficking as a human rights issue. Child trafficking is a form of modern slavery, a rapidly growing system of severe human exploitation, violence against children, child abuse, and child rights violations. It represents a major global public health concern with victims exposed to profound short-term and long-term physical, mental, psychological, developmental, and generational risks to health. Inconsistent enforcement and human rights violations carry on even while trafficking is illegal internationally. To combat the issue, countries should enact human rights principles and global cultural norms which delegitimize trafficking and possess the ability to follow through on human rights rhetoric. States should augment their capacity and internal systems as one mechanism working towards enforcement improvement. Certain individual, relationship, and community factors exacerbate this vulnerability and put some children and adolescents at an even higher risk for trafficking and exploitation, such as extreme poverty, migration and displacement, and early childhood adversity. By focusing on trauma-informed practices, social workers can begin to mitigate the impact of early adversity and reduce the risk of children and adolescents falling into exploitative situations, ultimately breaking the cycle of abuse and exploitation.
Check out the facts. Please see the link in our YouTube channel to check out more facts about child trafficking. Call to action. Our group was able to reach out to Suffolk County and Nassau County elected officials through emails and letters. Edward Romaine is a Suffolk County executive who has spoken about the country's large human trafficking problem and the need for collaboration between government agencies. County Executive Edward Romaine emphasized the urgency of the issue of child and human trafficking, calling it one of the most critical issues facing Suffolk County today. Romaine noted that many families are not prepared to deal or cope with the complexities of the post-traumatic effects child trafficking has on its young victims. Sometimes families may be dysfunctional, but no child should go missing. No child should be trafficked. No child should be left unattended, uncared for. If we can't protect our children, who can we protect? We also reached out to some Nassau County officials. Ann Donnelly is the Nassau County District Attorney. She continues to advocate for putting an end to child and human trafficking. The Nassau County District Attorney's Office is committed to combating human trafficking, holding offenders accountable, and supporting victims. Seth Koslow is Nassau County Legislature District 5. He's committed to human trafficking prevention. Human trafficking inflicts unimaginable violence upon its victims, robs them of their dignity, and relies upon silence to enable such heinous crimes to slip through the cracks of society, especially in children and young teens. Human Traffic Prevention Symposium set in Mineola.
I interviewed Brooke Morris, licensed clinical social worker and program director at Family Service League program. When working with clients, some things to look out for that may suggest someone is trafficked are scripted responses, evasive behavior, scars or burns that indicate branding or ownership. Traffickers target individuals who appear vulnerable or timid. That indicates they may be coerced. Individuals may be trafficked in exchange for drugs. Illegal immigrants are vulnerable to labor trafficking and silenced with the threat of deportation. Social media plays a role in trafficking in that traffickers prey on children through social media apps. Snapchat, for example, is dangerous because the messages disappear. I asked Brooke about her thoughts on the progress of law enforcement and the federal government making progress in combating child trafficking. She shared that it is such a widespread issue, it is the most lucrative illegal industry. It's like trying to fit Niagara Falls into a water bottle, was her description. Some local resources are LIADV, Vibes, Safe Harbor, Crime Victim Center, DHS, and the Blue Campaign. And parents should monitor their children's online activity, be aware of who they spend time with. Schools should be vigilant of who children leave school with at the end of the day.
You can help by increasing investment in services that support victims and survivors, including U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline. Support fiscal year 2025 Labor, Health, and Human Services and Education Appropriation Bill. The U.S. government has allocated funding to continue and expand services that assist individuals affected by trafficking. Partner with survivors to better establish trauma-informed anti-trafficking policies and strategies. Leverage technology to address the connection between finance and human trafficking. And finally, report suspected trafficking at the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 1-888-373-7888. After our group started to reach out to elected officials, we learned a lot more about the 5 Ps: prevention, protection, prosecution, partnerships, and policy. This information was also useful in learning how local and federal government are combating child trafficking.